Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar, where we sit down and talk with interesting professional guitar players and other musicians, uncover their life stories, and discover what makes them tick. If you love guitar, music, and the backstory of people's lives, then stick around. You're in the right place. If you're enjoying this show and you'd like to support it, go to everyonelovesguitar.com/support. And for information on advertising, visit everyonelovesguitar.com/advertise. Hey, everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. And man, I've got a legend amongst us today. We're with Banana Lowell Levinger from the original band, the Youngbloods. And this he's extremely talented. He's had a whole career post Youngbloods, and he's seen and done so much, and he's going to be a great, not only musical resource, but like cultural resource for us to like give us information what happened. Real quick, couple announcements. Mark Ribler, I want to thank you very much for connecting Banana and I. That's the first time I've ever said banana and I in a, in a conversation. And also make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe to subscribe to the audio and video. If you're already watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button down there on your right and the bell. All right, let's rock and roll. Banana is a founding member of the Youngbloods, which formed in 1965. He played on their hit song Get Together, and if you've ever seen any documentary about Vietnam, I think that's like, is it safe to say that's the unofficial song of peace for Vietnam era?
It's the hippie peace anthem.
Yeah, man. I mean, it really is. And it's been on the soundtrack of every documentary I've ever seen about Vietnam or any of the cultural changes of the late 60s. Another huge song the Youngbloods did was Darkness, Darkness, which is another awesome. These are like kind of like right up my alley. These are like sort of dark songs with an optimistic, you know what I'm saying, right? I mean, that's what makes them so powerful.
Yeah.
It was just really
People
intense.
sometimes misinterpret darkness, but it's really a prayer or a hymn to the blessings of darkness. I like song, but it takes you up. If you feel the the power of it, the optimism at the end. Bring you peace and relief.
Yes.
Yeah.
Banana began his career in bluegrass, actually, on the East Coast in Boston with Banana and the Bunch, old-time music with appeal, playing bluegrass in the local coffee houses of the early 60s. After several years in the East Coast folk and bluegrass scene, he co-founded the Youngbloods, and the band moved from New York City to West Marin in the San Francisco Bay Area in 1967, which it's safe to say is dramatically different from West Marin in the San Francisco Bay Area today, I would assume. Okay, along with co-producing the Youngbloods records with Joe Bauer and many other records on his own, he also produced the first two high country albums for Butch Waller, which were released by Warner Brothers Records in the early 70s, and this basically introduced California bluegrass to a worldwide audience. After a 9-year run with the Youngbloods, which ended in 1973, Banana then played with Mimi Farina, which is Joan Baez's sister, for over 20 years. He also worked in bands with Norton Buffalo, Dan Hicks and his Hot Licks, David Grisman, Barry the Fish Melton Band, of course, from Country Joe and the Fish, and Zero, where he played keyboard and sang lead for over 10 years. He's performed duo gigs with David Nelson, Keith Little, Freebo, Peter Rowan, and many other notable artists, as well as countless recording sessions. Sorry about that. He's currently touring for the last 3+ years with Steven Van Zandt, Little Steven, and the Disciples of Soul. He's also, I didn't know this about you, man, a well-known vintage instrument collector and multi-instrumentalist. He's got we'll talk about vintage guitars, and he can often be found playing his unique 5-string tenor guitar, breaking out a banjo for occasional accompaniment, or tickling the ivories for just the right mood. He's a very brilliant musician, bottom line. But wait, there's more. He's also a hang glider pilot. That's amazing. And in 1973, he started Hang Gliders West in Marin County, and for a decade, he taught over 5,000 people to fly. He cobbled together a bootleg Apple II computer in 1982 and he also bought a synthesizer, and he realized that the two of them should be able to talk to each other. So he wound up managing the development team at Passport Designs, which created Encore, which was a Mac and Windows software program that converted live MIDI performances or MIDI files to notation for sheet music, as well as allowing complex editing and input by hand. Since his college days at Boston University, again, this goes back to his vintage collecting. He's been collecting, swapping, buying, and selling old fretted instruments. And he maintains a website called Players Vintage Instruments, or if you go to vintageinstruments.com. Your name is not on that website, is it?
Well, yeah, down at the bottom. But no, I don't think Banana is on that website.
But I mean, you don't lead with you. That was interesting. I would think you'd lead with you. People would want your guitars just because you played them, or just because you know how people are. They're like, oh my God, Banana touched this.
I put very little credence into celebrity value of instruments. To me, the value of an instrument is how does it sound and how does it speak to the person who's playing it, so that is it easy for you to play a song on it and make it sound good?
Yeah.
That's the main thing about an instrument. Then there's the collectability and all that, but owned by somebody, increasing the value, that never made much sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense at all, but people are just nuts for stuff like that. It's really bizarre. Very strange. Anyway, man, thank you so much for coming on the show. What one question I want to ask you, you're a hustler, man. And I mean that in a really very good way. No, I mean, like, you hang gliding, you got involved with the Mac, you created this software, Vintage Instruments. Look, as a musician, you got to hustle gigs. You're in a lot of different projects. Where did that come from?
It's just been kind of one obsession after the other, I guess. Something grabs me and it's like, oh my God, that is really cool. I want to do that. I'm going to do that, all day today and then all day tomorrow. And then, so it's kind of been a series. My life has been a series of obsessions. I got obsessed with computers. I got obsessed with bluegrass banjo. I got obsessed with pedal steel. I got, obsessed with old instruments. So then I just kind of go for it.
So you're the kind of guy when something turns you on, you're all in.
Yeah. I want to, find out, delve deeper into it. And then if it continues to grab me, I want to, ideally, if you can find a way to make a stream of income from it.
Yeah, well, that's what you've done with all these things. Is really impressive.
Yeah. So many little streams can actually keep you alive.
Yeah, totally, man. As a kid, from what I read is correct, you got exposed to lots of music, Banana. But once you heard bluegrass, that sort of struck a chord with you. I was curious what you liked most about bluegrass.
It was Earl Scruggs' banjo playing that initially just absolutely blew my mind. When I was at prep school, the reason I was at prep school is because I was I've been thrown out of every school I ever went to.
Really?
Yeah. I had a deportment problems.
What does that mean? You didn't like authority?
Exactly.
Yeah. I hear you.
I couldn't keep my mouth shut. And when I thought something was unfair, I spoke up and objected, and nobody likes that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was at prep school, and the first year I got thrown out, and then they took a survey of the teachers saying, should we let Lowell back again? And everyone except one said no, but one, Sybil Fernley, the 80-year-old English professor who taught English literature, she and I had hit it off, and she thought I was pretty cool. She said, no, we should let Lowell back. He's got promise and whatnot. And then my father went down and had a meeting with the headmaster where I think perhaps there was what they call a serva or partiti, a little exchange.
Cash exchange?
Might have gone on. And so I was admitted back from my senior year, but they put me in the senior dorm in the room right next to the dorm master's room.
Keep a watch on
so that the dorm master would be able to keep an eye on me. Well, the dorm master that year was a brand new hire, a guy named David Litton, who was fresh out of Harvard, and he also was going to teach American history. And he happened to be a big music fan and folk music fan. And I was already into folk music, played the guitar, played the piano, and had a pretty good record collection of very, real cool folk music. And so we hit it off and became friends. Also, he didn't like despotism any more than I did.
Oh, cool. And so you lucked out.
Robert Louis Stevenson School for Boys, Pebble Beach, California, was a haven of despotism. So we hit it off, and he said, I got some records back in Boston at my folks' house that I think you'd really like. It's banjo music. And at that point, I didn't like Dixieland. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I hadn't gotten Dixieland yet. And I said, forget it. I don't like banjo music. Don't bother. He said, no, they're really cool. It's this group, Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs. I said, Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs sounds like, Second Avenue vaudeville shtick comedy routine or something. He said, no, it's banjo music. I said, no, I don't like banjo music, and I'm not interested in, vaudeville shtick. He says, I'm getting the records. He had his parents send out the records. I put Foggy Mountain Banjo on the turntable. In 10 seconds, my whole life had changed.
Wow.
Yeah. All I wanted to do was learn to play banjo like Earl Scruggs. And I did.
That is
so he was great. I mean, he also taught American history, not out of the textbook, but out of really what happened,
Yeah.
The more honest slant on it. And he also was in charge of the stables. The school was kind of a horsey school. And they had their system of demerits. They called them termites. If you got demerits for doing something bad, which I did all the time, of course. I remember I had a little group of kids who were objected to stuff and misbehaved and whatnot. And one time the headmaster called us into his office and he said, your problem is that you all have a negative attitude. And you have to get rid of this negative attitude and develop a positive attitude. And I expect to see this from each of you starting right now. To go to dinner was served in the main hall every night, and you had to wear your Bob Louis blazer.
Oh, my God.
Sport jacket, and a Robert Louis Stevenson tie, which was green and silver stripe. You had to wear that to dinner every night. So after being called on the carpet for a negative attitude, I convinced the other four guys, and we all showed up to dinner in our blazers, inside out.
Oh, my God.
Negative attitude, right? That didn't go over well. Anyway, so I had so many termites that I was not allowed to go into town on the weekends. I wasn't even allowed to go home for like Thanksgiving break and stuff like that. I was restricted to campus. And every weekend, I was assigned to the stables to shovel shit. And but meanwhile, David Litton was in charge of the stables.
Oh, okay.
We worked out this thing where I would show up in the morning, and then that was a senior, an underclassman who had termites also showed up. So he would say, okay, here's what needs to be done, this, and this. You make sure these guys do it. And I'll see you later. And he and his girlfriend would take horses and go for a ride out into the woods. And I would be in charge of the stables, sitting on the fence, smoking illegally, ordering the other kids what to do. I don't know what he and his girlfriend did out in the woods. But anyway, one day he fell off his horse and broke his leg out there.
Holy.
And the whole house of cards came tumbling down. I never saw him again. He was hospitalized, but he never came back to school. I was kicked out. It was like, 6 weeks before graduation or something. And I've been trying to find him. I've asked Harvard for records.
Really?
I've asked Robert Louis Stevenson. They have no record of him at all. As far as they're concerned, he never existed.
Wow.
But he's also the guy who told me to go to BU. Thank God they let me get my diploma. I'd already been accepted to BU.
What made why did he say BU? Because he was from Boston and he knew
he was from Harvard. Right?
Yeah, so he knew that.
He told me, he said, I'd be coming back from going to Cambridge, coming back on the MTA from Boston. There'd be 3 gorgeous girls from BU sitting across from me. And they would look at me and then they would turn to each other and snicker and go, typical Harvard. He says, go to BU.
Wow.
Also, BU had a fantastic theater department. And that's what I knew what I wanted to do when I was be an actor. That's a comedic actor.
That's what you want. Isn't it funny to look back and like that was the big to do? That, your behavior was the big disturbance in school. I mean, compare it like to now, where like it's like gangs of guys with guns or whatever, or smoking meth in the bathroom. Or, it's like so ridiculous when you look back at the things people used to get pissed off about.
But yeah, so if it hadn't been for him, I might not have heard Little Scrubs. I wouldn't have gone to BU. I wouldn't have dropped out of BU and jumped into the Cambridge folk scene right at the height of the folk scare. Met Jerry and Jesse and all, gone to New York, become young, but David Litton.
Yeah, man, he changed the course of your life.
Boon to me. Yeah, absolutely. Incredible. I wish I could find him. He'd be, like 80 or so now, at least.
When stuff like that happens, how do you look at that? Do you think that's like, for your own perspective, is that divine intervention? Is it serendipity? Is it just right place?
Serendipity.
Yeah.
And serendipity is the normal state of affairs in this world. Serendipitous stuff happens or should be happening all the time. Meeting people that you haven't seen, just stuff like serendipity. When serendipity isn't a part of your life and isn't happening on a regular basis, that's abnormal. Something's wrong. Serendipity should be normal.
What makes you say that, if you don't mind me asking?
Huh?
What makes you say that? I'm just curious. That serendipity should be normal.
Well, maybe probably wishful thinking, but also my life experience has just been so full of it. And I see other people's life experience being full of it too. I guess if you're trying to grow up Hispanic or Black in America, it's probably not so much the case. Huh. But for a white privileged person like me, it has been the case.
Serendipity. Okay, so how did you go to BU? How did you first get started in the music business? And like, what would you consider your first break?
Well, the first big break, as far as the music business, I really wasn't in the music business unless you call playing bars in East Cambridge with it.
No, I mean, after,
I was introduced to the music business when I moved to New York to join Jesse and Jerry. Jesse had a manager. What? Really? A manager? Holy shit. And shortly after we got together, the manager got us a booking agency. And shortly after that, we got a record contract. I mean, talk about music business. So, that was kind of my first awareness that there was a music bit. I joined the union, went down to the union to pick up the recording checks at the Starlight Ballroom. Something ballroom in New York. Is it the Starlight? No, I'll think of it later. Yeah, you have to go down there to get your checks. You went upstairs to offices. There's these old fat guys smoking cigars. They earned their money by sitting there smoking cigars and taking the check that was sent to them and taking a piece out of it and giving the rest to you. Oh, well.
What was the city like at that point? What year was that?
65.
What was New York City like right then?
I lived on the Lower East Side on 7th Street and Avenue D.
I know that area well.
And it was rough.
Yeah, that's a very rough area, man.
Finally, after the third time we got robbed, we moved over to a place I absolutely could not afford, but that was the story of my marriage.
Where'd you move, in the West Village someplace?
No, on 9th Street between 5th and 6th.
Oh my God, that is marquee real estate, man. Like 2
right
blocks.
Now, that Shrink Row, right?
Yeah, that's 2 blocks from Washington Square Park, pretty much.
Yeah.
Wow, what an
great.
area! Holy crap!
It's totally different. I mean, and over on the Lower East Side, I'd be walking home from the gig at 2:30 in the morning or something, and you're walking down the block. You're just half a block from your house, and then there's an explosion right next to you, and some little kid has thrown a half-a-gallon milk bottle off the roof at you.
Yeah, man, that's the way it was. But what was like as things, as the culture was changing, as the quote the 60s were coming on full on, what was the vibe like in the city, especially down in the East and West Village, let's say?
Well, there was a lot of music going on, and there's a lot of music clubs, a lot of bars, a lot of musicians going to each other's gigs and hanging out. We were so fortunate to be the house band at the Cafe A Go-Go.
I read that. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
We were the house band, and the Blues Project was the other house band. And
what was that like? And what was that like? And like, who did you play for? I got to believe you played for some cool people.
Oh yeah. And then, so regulars were Richie Havens, and the Jug Band came through once too. But I remember when Cream came through, that was the first time that I had ever had a bass give me an upset stomach.
Jack Bruce was turned up.
It was so loud. Oh my God. And Clapton, making his guitar sound like a human voice. Amazing too. And then Jimmy James and the Blue Flames.
Wow. Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah. And he was playing, there was no flames. There was no distortion. There was no pyrotechnics. There was no playing in back of his head with his teeth. It was jazz influenced blues with all kinds of cool substitution chords and diminished runs and, real musical, really different from what he eventually, what sold.
Yeah.
It would have been very difficult to become as popular as he did playing what he was playing then.
Yeah. That's amazing that you played with Cream. What made you guys leave New York and move to Northern California?
Well, in '66, we came out to Northern California for the first, New York. You live in New York, right?
No, I'm from there. I live in Tampa, Florida, but I'm from there. I grew up there.
Okay, so New York,
half my life there.
You get up in the morning, you walk from Avenue D to the Agogo in the Village to rehearse. We rehearsed it every day down, and then we would go down to the basement and steal his ice cream and stuff. But so when you're walking to rehearsal or walking home after rehearsal to have dinner and then walk back at night, you adopt this attitude of, okay, I'm got business here. I know where I'm going. I'm a New Yorker. If you're thinking about fucking with me, you're going to be very sorry. Don't do it.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I'm not making eye contact in the first place.
Yeah, well, you got to be smart.
So that's New York. And then the gigs, when you go out to the island to play gigs, like we went out, I remember, to a battle of the bands once that our manager booked us in at this, was it My Father's Place?
Yeah, that's a place that was out there.
Place like that, out there. So there's all these bands. We play our stuff. And afterwards, the owner of the place comes in. He says, "Man, I love you guys. You harmonies. Your harmonies are great. And the way you plays, your instruments, man, it's really good. If you guys could play some of the shits the people wants to hear, we could hire you." We're playing our original stuff, right?
So they wanted covers.
He liked it a lot, but he says, they want to hear Satisfaction, right? Play some stuff that they would like. So that's New York, it's, and then you go out and you play other Baltimore and stuff, and then, they hate you. If you play Satisfaction, they would love you. But you're trying to play 4 a.m. and No More Pain and Get Together, and now we go out to California. We play the Avalon Ballroom. We're playing in between, whatever, the Grateful Dead and the Jefferson Airplane or Blue Cheer or something.
Like literally in between those two bands.
Yeah, that would be the bill. That would be Blue Cheer, and then it would be the Youngbloods, and then it would be Big Brother or something, So compare the Youngbloods to those bands. We're 1/3 the volume.
Yeah.
We're doing modulations. We're playing, soft stuff, slightly loud stuff, different genres, ragtime, The audience loves it just as much as they love everything else. They think we're the coolest thing since whipped cream, it's just all peace and love, and the music is going over great. Okay, we go back to New York, same old thing. Then we went out a second time, 1967. And once again, it's like, then I think we played LA too, but everywhere out in California, people thought that our music was fantastic, and everyone's so friendly, and so, what do you want here? Have a joint here, blah, blah, So the third time we came back to New York and we said, wait a minute, why do we keep coming back to New York? Why don't we just move out there where they like us and they're sunshine and it doesn't snow and it's, so we did.
So the band was better. The whole vibe was more open towards what the band had to offer.
Yeah. We just fit much better.
Interesting.
Than we did in New York.
Wow.
And we were accepted, completely accepted. New York is tough.
Yeah.
And California was mellow, mellow, accepting, loving. Yeah.
Very cool.
So when we came, we said, okay, we'll move to California. So Jesse and Jerry kind of thought that meant, okay, we're moving to LA. We'd just gotten this Warner Brothers contract too. And that's where the business is, right? In California, LA. So they kind of assumed, I guess we'll move to LA. But Joe's brother was living in Olema, which is about 4 miles, a couple of miles past the end of the bay from Inverness, from where I live. And I had been coming out here. I was raised in Santa Rosa, which is about 45 miles north of here.
Okay.
And my parents brought me out here as a little kid to the beaches out here. I was familiar with out here. And in fact, when I had gotten to be a teen and preteen, I always hung out with older kids who could drive and who could play music and stuff. And we used to come out here to Inverness, sometimes in the wintertime, and the town is completely deserted. Nobody lived out here at all. It was strictly a summer town. And we would just look around and poke around, look in windows, look in backyards. We were not vandals or anything like that. And way back then, I thought, wow, would this ever be a cool place to live?
Wow.
So it was time to move to California. So Joe and I said, listen, let us show you something. And we took Jerry and Jesse out here to West Marin, showed them Tomales Bay, showed them Inverness, showed them around, pointed out the fact that we had way more gigs in San Francisco than we had in LA, and the gigs were way better as well. And Inverness was an hour from the city, an hour and a half from San Francisco International Airport. Why not just move out here? And they looked around and said, yeah,
so you all moved to Inverness.
So we all moved to West Marin.
Wow. Yeah. Very cool. I want to ask you if you remember in Darkness, Darkness, you played, there's like some old school overdrive, like and it's just really, do you have any idea what that was?
Yeah, Charlie was great on that. Charlie Daniels produced.
Charlie Daniels produced that. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. He just passed the other day.
Yeah.
Anyway, So we we'd recorded, 2 albums already at RCA, and then we'd started Elephant Mountain in New York, and then come out to LA, and we're finishing it out there. So Joe and I had started to learn a little bit about engineering and the recording process and the equipment and whatnot. And I wanted to get this, and there weren't pedals and stuff weren't happening then. You couldn't just buy an overdrive.
I know. That's why
overdrive channels and amplifiers or anything like that. So I said, what if we were to take a Pultec and run the guitar into the Pultec?
What's a Pultec?
It's a compressor limiter.
Okay.
Really old school compressor limiter. Great sound. Let's take a guitar, run it into a Pultec, and max it out, and then take the outlet of that Pultec and run it into another Pultec.
Oh.
Do the same thing, and then take the output of that one and run it into another one and do the same thing. And the engineer said, that is not the way this equipment is designed to be used. No, you can't do that. That's just, that's crazy, ridiculous, stupid. And Charlie said, well, now, wait a minute. Is it going to hurt anything? Is it going to harm the equipment in it? Well, they said, no, but it's just, that's not the way the equipment is. Charlie said, listen, these guys, why don't you just let them try it? It can't do any harm. If it doesn't work, we'll just abandon it in the middle, but just, let them try it. What harm can that do? He just smooth talked the engineers. They said, well, okay. And that's the sound.
That's the sound. Because it's a really cool sound, man. And it's nothing like you ever hear. It's not like, I don't think I've ever heard that particular sound before. It's very, spell it Pultec, please. I want to.
Pultech.
Thanks. I got to look that up on YouTube now.
Yeah, they're sought after now, the vintage, really cool vintage stuff.
What a great idea, man. It worked. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, it worked great. Also, Joe and I really did a lot of that. Darkness is one of the most produced tunes, with the fine tuning of the echo, timing it to the thing, and then the guitar licks coming in and echoing the vocal. I'm proud of the production on that song, as well as the playing and whatnot.
You have to feel pretty proud of that whole body of work in general.
Elephant Mountain, I am very, very proud of. I think that's our pièce de résistance. And I got to say, I don't think we would have made that if it hadn't have been for Sgt. Pepper.
Interesting.
Sgt. Pepper kind of gave everyone permission. Okay, you can do whatever the fuck you want, just put in any kind of crazy shit you want to into your album, and you can make it thematic and you can have little snippets, and you can, it doesn't have to be 12 3-minute songs, each one trying to be a hit record.
Yeah.
You can do whatever creative thing you can think of. And I think that's kind of gave us permission to go, okay, we're going to do all kinds of stuff. So we put strings on there. That was really fun, writing those strings arrangement in the motel room in LA. It's on the electric piano, writing down the different parts, and then going in and getting to conduct this orchestra in the studio. That was one of the big thrills of my life.
That's all. It's interesting. You said the terminology. You said Sgt. Pepper's gave us permission. I would bet that is the biggest influence it had, in that it gave everybody permission. There was no more, strap off all the rules, to throw out the books, man, and just do what you want to do.
Bring in the harpsichord, whatever you feel like.
Yeah. That's really cool. I know this is a tough question. What would you think? Tell me, knee-jerk reaction, top 3 musical experiences you've had. I know that's a tough one.
Only 3. Could we just do that to 1 power, 10th power or something?
Logarithmically, exponentially, I mean.
All right. Well, so let's combine 2 into 1 at least.
Okay.
And that'd be playing with Paul McCartney with the Disciples of Soul, with him. That was just amazing. It was at the Roundhouse in London. I think it was November 4th, 2017, I believe. And he was going to come to the gig, but he wasn't going to play. It was like 99.9% sure he's not going to play. So Eddie wrote a chart for I Saw Her Standing There that used the main riff from Lucille. The horn section would play the main riff from Lucille by Little Richard, which goes perfectly with I Saw Her Standing There.
Who wrote the chart?
Eddie Mannion.
Okay.
He would be a cool guy to interview.
Ooh, okay.
He would be a really cool guy to interview.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, he's been with Bruce for a gazillion years and Diana Ross and a gazillion other huge people. And he is the leader of the horn section and writes the charts for Little Steven. So he wrote up a horn section chart. We got parts for the girls. We rehearsed the shit out of it. And then, went to the gig knowing it's not going to happen, right? But, the 0.1% chance that it might, we're going to be ready to fucking kill it. So he's up there in the one of the balcony, what do they call them? Loge. What are those little things called? He's up there with Maureen and a couple of other people watching the show. And about a third of the way through the show, he's just absolutely loving it. And he says, "Do you think I could sit in?" And Maureen gets on the phone and says, "Okay, he wants to play." And meanwhile, Steven's guitar tech, I'll think of his name in a minute, Tweety, had gone out that afternoon and located a left-handed Hofner Beetle bass and a left-handed Les Paul, taken them back, changed the strings, set them up so the action was perfect and they played perfectly in tune, and he was ready too.
Just in case.
So just in case, yeah. So towards the end, Paul comes back, so he's going to do it in the encores. Paul comes back, Tweety says, "Okay, I got a bass. What do you want to play, bass or guitar?" And Paul says, "Jack's doing a great job on bass. I don't want to play bass. I'll play guitar." And so it's time to do the thing. Steven does this, clever introduction. I forget exactly what it's on YouTube. And Paul comes out. He's just strapped on this guitar he's never seen before in his life. Comes out on stage. He turns it up and just goes, "All right," and fucking kills it, And we do the tune. It's absolutely great. When he came on, he walked right by me, and then walking off, he walks right by me too. Gives me the big nod.
That's cool.
Sir Paul,
What was the energy like coming out of that thing, man? Everybody must have been so incredibly jazzed.
Oh yeah, we were just everybody was completely stoked. We talked about it for days, and then shortly after, we were playing in Liverpool. Steven arranges. I have never met anybody like Steven in my life on so many levels. Steven works it out to where we're going to play the Cavern.
The Cavern Club.
Yeah.
That's cool.
In Liverpool. The original Cavern Club was destroyed. It's now a parking lot, but they got all the stuff out of it, even the walls and whatnot, and made a complete, accurate reproduction of it.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it still exists exactly the same way it was. Holds, 175 people or something? The stage. You've seen videos of the Beatles.
I've seen that's like half your band already.
The four of them barely fit on the stage. So Steven has arranged for us to play the Cavern Club, a noon set, free, before our gig that night at the O2 or wherever it was.
And how cool is that?
15-piece band.
Yeah, I know you got a huge band.
With monitors and sound and lights and a film crew, etc. Playing the Cavern Club on a stage that can't really fit a 4-piece guitar band.
Yeah.
And we got, 2 keyboards, a big drum set, a percussionist, 3 girls, 5 horns, bass, and 2 guitars.
That's massive.
So the crew did it. And we show up, and there's all the shit somehow miraculously set up. The girls are over on the other side of some pillars. The horns are kind of stretching out down a little hallway. The key band is on the stage. Steven says, "What the hell? Why isn't the organ over here? The keyboard should be over here. The drum should be over here. The organ should be over here. What are you guys thinking?" And it's, an hour and a half before it. But this is Steven. He sees in his mind the way things are supposed to be. He sees the rate at which the curtain is supposed to rise in relationship to the beats of the first 8 bars of the song. I mean, we've spent 30 minutes at sound checks just going over the curtain going up at the right time, on the right beat, at the right tempo. So, bam, 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 the crew switches everything around the way it should have been in the first place. And we play this incredible set of all Beatles tunes that we have only rehearsed on the bus.
That's wild.
Two acoustic guitars, and Andy playing his little teeny little Yamaha keyboard, and me beating on my knees. And so we got all these Beatles tunes. And this is including, Good Morning, and some of the really complicated shit.
Some deep tracks there.
Have dared ever play live, only in the studio. But when you've got Andy on synthesizers and keyboards and organ, and you've got, all these other guys who can play it right, we pulled it off.
That's awesome, man.
We did four covers and 4 originals. And All You Need Is Love.
That's amazing.
The ending to All You Need Is Love?
I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head. They're playing bebop, jazz, green sleeves, and then the riff to the song all at the same. It's all going on at the same time, building, and then this incredible crescendo and whatnot. And in the studio, they were using all this stuff. We did it live. Again, it's online somewhere. You can hear it. It's amazing. It was packed, I'm assuming. I'm assuming it was packed.
Well, yeah, people were lined up outside at 6 a.m. But like I say, only 175 of them or something got in,
Wow.
It was free. So again, those 2 things I think have to be kind of combined.
Yeah.
Into one, even though they were a few weeks apart. But those are my Disciples Beatles gigs.
All right. What would be number 2? By the way, somebody else, I'm trying to think of Jack or Mark, that was their number 1, was playing with McCartney on stage. I think
probably everybody in the Disciples has their number 1.
Yeah, that's got to be.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Cavern Club and playing with McCartney with little Steven, what would be number 2 and 3?
I knew Dan Hicks and I kind of grew up together in Santa Rosa. We tried to play jazz when we were 13 years old, where I was 12 or 13, he was 16 or 17. And then throughout the years, he would call me when he was doing. I never actually played a Dan Hicks and the Hot Licks gig, but he did all these other side gigs, like Dan Hicks and the Mill Valley Rangers, or Dan Hicks and the Jug Band, whatever's, and he would call me when he needed a banjo or a dobro, or sometimes a piano, or whatever. So over the years, I did occasional gigs with him a lot. And when it was time for his 70th birthday celebration at San Francisco Symphony Hall, and he had all people who had played with him for all over the years coming, and people who just, worshiped him, and a lot of great artists were there. And I was in the jazz band. I was playing piano in the jazz band. So anyway, we're backstage, and Harry Shearer comes up to me and says, "Oh, Banana, I'm so glad I've always wanted to meet you. I just admire your work so much, and I just think it's great. It's such a pleasure meeting you. I love your music, blah, 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 blah." I was like, holy shit, Harry Shearer, really? So that whole gig, and especially that experience, that has to be another one of the highlights.
I'm trying to think. I think maybe Mark Bonilla. I had plays with Harry Shearer. I think his guitar player I had on the show. I think it was Mark Bonilla. Maybe
he's a great bass player, and then of course
you're funny incredible. As hell. Yeah.
Okay, and then I've been playing for Bread and Roses. You know what Bread and Roses is?
I don't. Sorry.
Okay. Mimi Farina founded Bread and Roses in 1973, right at the time when we first got together and became a musical duo. And Bread and Roses brings live entertainment into places where people are shut in and would not be able to get out to see live entertainment. So
you must be really busy now, huh?
Well, you have to do it virtually now.
You can't get in.
A lot of the places you go are filled with people who are very high risk.
Yeah, I know.
So it includes, nursing homes, elderly social places, preschools, juvenile halls, prisons, hospitals, any place like that where people can't get out. And so I was in on the ground floor. I am now the oldest surviving performer for Bread and Roses.
For Bread and Roses, that's a cool. What were some of the gigs that you played that were meaningful?
So a lot of the meaningful gigs will be like in a veterans home or an old folks home, and I'm just playing by myself, or maybe with a bass player, and some of the folks are being wheeled in, obviously, and some of them are basically catatonic. They're just like slumped over like this, no sign of any activity at all. And you start playing songs, and you try to play some of the old stuff. Play mostly the old stuff that will be familiar, and they start perking up.
Really?
And pretty soon, they're actually moving around and nodding their heads, and there's a smile on their face, and you've kind of brought them to life from this almost catatonic state of sort of hopelessness and just, stagnant being to having some energy and having a smile on their face and enjoying this moment in life. And those gigs, the reward of that, of changing someone's life for a half hour or an hour or something, it's real profound. It's very, very meaningful. So
yeah, that's got to be pretty moving.
Those are incredible experiences. And then sometimes, for the little kids, it's just the opposite. You can't keep them from jumping around and bouncing all over the place and yelling while you're trying to play a song. So maybe you stop and say, okay, everybody, up on your feet. Let's jump up and down. No, faster. Okay, now yell, louder. And you get everybody just going completely crazy nuts. And then the teachers finally go, okay, enough. We got to calm this down. And maybe you can go back to singing songs again. But yeah, the Bread and Roses gigs are really meaningful. They're still going on. Bread and Roses produces, it's mostly Marin County, and they do, I think, over 50 shows a month now. All the performers, all the producers, coordinators of the shows and everything, it's all volunteer. And
so this has grown to 50 shows a month. That's a pretty big organization then.
Yeah. And they have, like 6 or 8 staff people. It's a nonprofit. They've got a board of directors. And yeah, it's incredible. It's been going since 1973, thousands and thousands of shows, all volunteer, all in places where people couldn't get out. They can, they have a website, breadandroses.org. Anyone can start their own Bread and Roses in their community. They have a whole, pamphlet with instructions, and they'll help you to do it. It's a really satisfying thing for any entertainer. You don't have to be a musician. You can be a belly dancer or a juggler or a magician or a comedian or,
It's just some sort of outreach entertainment to get
Yeah.
to people
It's
that
a
normally
way
don't
to get entertainment to people who can't get to entertainment, to people who are shut in.
Yeah, that's really cool. breadandroses.org.
Yeah.
Man, that's very nice. Thank you for mentioning that. That's really cool.
And they have a CD that you can only get the CD from Bread and Roses, and it's a CD that I produced out of this recording that was made of a really great concert that Mimi and I did in Germany at this beautiful concert hall. They had a Bosendorfer piano, and the acoustics were perfect, and the audience was great, and Mimi was at her best, charming and witty and singing beautifully and picking the shit out of her. You know, she's an incredible guitar player.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Oh yeah, she's way better than her sister. Yeah, she's really a virtuoso. Anyway, so they recorded it, and about 2 or 3 years ago, the guy who produced the concerts, Michael Cleff, got a hold of the recording, and I edited it and mastered it and made a CD out of it. And it's really, really, really cool. It really illustrates Mimi's wonderful talent and wonderful virtuosity and great singing and choice of songs and whatnot. And I'm on there too. I'm the band.
That's awesome.
And you can get it by a donation to Bread and Roses.
So go to breadandroses.org. That's really cool. You know, it's funny. I somehow found an old photo of you online. Maybe it was on your website even. I don't know. You really, outside of like getting gray, man, you haven't, like, if I put that photo, I'm looking at you here, and because I looked at that photo, there really isn't much of a change, man. It's kind of, I mean, there's a change, but you look like you. It's really funny because I'm thinking of that photo and I'm like, man, if I put that here, it's just like the little brother and the big brother or something like that.
Yeah. And some of my kids at different points in their lives look exactly like
that photo. That's cool, man. Any low points? Tell me about any low points or dark periods you've had to deal with in life, and how'd you get through them?
You know, I've never really let it go dark. I just can't go dark. But I mean, I've had some sad things happen, I guess. And you know, my youth was sort of shitty. I mean, I wasn't mistreated or anything like that, but just the whole school thing and all the rules and all that stuff. I had a hard time with all that, but it wasn't dark. It was just stupid. But you know, losing the cost of survival is loss. And everybody as they get older are going to lose. You're going to lose your folks, and you're going to lose friends, friends, especially friends who didn't treat themselves right. And, but the loss of a child, it can't be described.
Man, I'm so sorry. I did not know.
And again, you know, you're not going to let your life go dark because of it, but it doesn't ever leave you. And it's really hard.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, man. I couldn't imagine. And you know what, man? It's okay to let that go dark. If you want to let something go dark, you're allowed with that, man, for sure.
Yeah, and it goes, you know, you're in misery for a while, and like I say, it never leaves you. You think about it, you know, almost every day.
Yeah.
But you can't let your life go dark because of that. You gotta, play your music and cook and tell jokes, and you got to keep it up.
Yeah.
I think that's part of a lot of maintaining your good health is just maintaining a good attitude.
Yeah, that's pretty, but something like that, man, there's no frame of reference for that at all. I mean, that's like, you get a pass on anything.
I've been through it twice.
Oh my God.
So
fuck, man. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing that, but I am really sorry, man. My heart goes out to you, really. Man, I think I need a minute for that now.
I got plenty left.
I would expect nothing less from you.
I've raised seven kids in this house.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, you meant you had plenty left kids. I'm like, oh my, I thought you meant energy for the, oh wow. Bless you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got 5 left. So
wow. Let's talk about something positive. I want to talk about music for a little bit. And I know you've seen tons of cool shows. Tell me the 2 or 3 best concerts you've seen.
You know, I don't go out to see music much. I go over to the Station House in Point Reyes when my buddy Paul Knight is playing there, and then a lot of times it's me playing there too. But living out in the sticks, you know, it's an hour or so to get into the city to see anything. But I have seen a few. One really cool show that I saw, and I wonder how many years ago it was probably in the mid-'80s. And it was at the Oakland Coliseum that holds 50,000 people. And somehow or other, I got tickets, probably through my boss at Passport Designs or something. And it was Prince.
Oh
my God. And it was the first, you know, big stadium show like that I'd ever been to. And yeah, I was really impressed. He was amazing, and the whole pyrotechnics and all the whole production and everything was amazing. And the sound, the way they could keep it actually sounding fairly good, although the preponderance of bass is a little overwhelming. But yeah, so that was very impressive. And I mean, I can go back, you know, when I was a little kid, going to see, this was in my senior year, after I'd been introduced to Flat and Scruggs, and my parents took me back east to look at different colleges to go to. And one of them was the one in Georgetown in Washington, D.C. And I talked them into letting me go across the river to Falls Church, Virginia, to the Shamrock Inn to see the Country Gentlemen. I think I was 15. I don't know how I got in, but somehow they let me in. Maybe they served food or something. Anyway, that was a mind blower. And that must have been in 1961, I guess, or 2. And then later in 1964, when Banana and the Bunch was the house band at the Mooncusser Coffee House on Martha's Vineyard, with the Country Gentlemen came through and played there. And the artists would stay up at Dick Randlett's house, which was a great big house up on the hill from Oak Bluffs. And there'd be parties up there. And I turned Eddie Adcock on to pot for the first time.
That's so funny. That's so funny, man. What were some of the good shows you saw that you were a part of? You know, like you said, you saw like Blue Cheer, and then The Dead was after that. Any of those shows like just stellar?
No, we would go when if we would have a gig where there would be maybe 3 or 4 bands playing at the Carousel or the Fillmore or the Family Dog or whatnot. Generally, if let's say you're going to go on at 11, we would leave Inverness at 9, 8:30 or 9. Drive into the city, park, go into the venue. A band is playing, but you go back to dressing room, maybe change your shirt, get your guitar out, tune it up, go over a few tunes, do some vocal warm-ups and stuff. And then it's time to play. One time, it was great. It was time to play, and we were still in the dressing room. You know, it was like maybe 2 minutes past time to play, a minute and a half past time to play at Fillmore. And we're in the dressing room, and we're just about ready to go on. And Bill Graham comes storming into the room, slams open the door, screaming, "What is this, amateur night?"
Because you were late.
That's one of my fondest memories.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Anyway, so then we play our set, then go back, towel off, change into a dry shirt, wipe down the instrument, put it away, get in the car and drive home.
Oh, so you wouldn't stick around.
Consequently, I was never, we had families at home.
Yeah. Okay.
Unlike a lot of the other bands who had, houses in the Haight-Ashbury where all the band lived or hung out, and where
Yeah.
they had guns and drugs and sex and blah, 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 you know. I never was a part of that scene. I never never set foot in any of those houses. I didn't know any of those hangers-on. I just wasn't in the scene.
Because you had a family, you went home, took care of your family, just went back to be.
Yeah. And I was to go in. I really wasn't going in to hear any other loud bands. I was going in to play our set and come home. So none of those shows really, as far as the other musical acts that were there, really stand out for me. I wasn't on the really cool bills where some, famous bluegrass guy or Ray Charles or B.B. King or something like that would be on. I saw Albert King at Slim's once. That was really cool.
Had to be pretty incredible. He's what a powerhouse that guy was.
Yeah. And then I've seen at festivals, some of the festivals that we played, that would be kind of different, and you're more likely to see other acts that were good. And the folk festivals too that I played with Mimi had a lot of cool stuff. I think the first time I met Jack was at one of those festivals. Jack Elliott.
Okay.
He's a good friend. He lives right across the bay. We've been friends for 50 years. I played with him, a few gigs with him too. But yeah, he comes over for dinner. Great guy.
I'm sorry, what's that?
He's a sailor too. I was a sailor for 15 years or so. I was the Commodore of the Inverness Yacht Club.
That's so funny, man.
I'm a past Commodore. I have reciprocal privileges.
So you can marry somebody, right? Can you marry?
I have married two people, actually.
Yeah.
Greg Anton from Zero and my buddy Paul Knight.
That's so funny.
Then he married me too, Greg, to my sweetie in 2013.
Right on, man. What was Bill Graham like? Was he, I've heard, I just read stuff about him. I've never really talked to anybody who knew him. Was he?
He was kind of bombastic, and what my experiences with him are loud and aggressive and bombastic. Another great one is our road manager, Earthquake. We wanted some information or permission or something he wanted, so he was sent to his office to go ask him about something. And he approaches the office door, and he hears Bill Graham screaming into the phone, screaming confidentially. He's screaming, "Confidentially, I'm shitting pink."
Okay.
We just turned around and said, "I don't think I want to ask him anything right now."
Timing is probably
that's
not.
another choice memory of Bill Graham for me.
So he was just a difficult guy to deal with.
Kind of, yeah. But he was, he hired us a lot.
Yeah.
We played his venue a lot. We made a great album at the Fillmore East.
Yeah.
Live album. I'm very proud of that album too. It's called Ride the Wind. And it's all live. It's the trio. And at the Fillmore East in Thanksgiving, 69 maybe? Yeah.
It's amazing that you were around for all of that. I mean, it's just blows my mind.
Yeah. And then way back in the Cambridge days at the Club 47, which is where Banana and the Bunch played as a bluegrass band, and then the Trolls played as a rhythm and blues band. I was greatly influenced by the Butterfield Band coming through there. The first time they came through,
great band, man.
Oh man, yeah, they could. And at the time, the Stones had just come on, and as far as I was concerned, they were murdering all this great old Skip James and blues material from original blues artists, which I had grown up with and knew how it was supposed to sound. What have they done to this shit, And then Butterfield came through, and I thought, well, I can do this too. So I started this little band, kind of abandoned bluegrass, and started the Trolls.
So he inspired you to start that band.
He was an influence to do that. Yeah, him and the Stones.
They were
doing it right, them doing it wrong. It inspired me. Why don't I just do this myself?
That's cool.
And then when the Love and Spoonful came through, that was like, oh, so you can kind of combine the folk with the rock. And I think the Love and Spoonful was also an influence, besides the Beatles, was an influence on the Youngbloods.
Yeah.
We were coming up at the same time. The Spoonful, the Youngbloods, and the Buffalo Springfield all kind of came up at the same time, and we all knew each other and kind of influenced each other, I would say.
There's a great documentary about Butterfield on either Netflix or Prime. I recently saw. What a force of nature the guy was, man. I mean, just the whole, really good. Hey, let's talk about guitar. What's your go-to guitar right now? Has this changed over the years? And what other 2 or 3 guitars would round out your top 3? And I know that's probably been a harder question than what's your top 3 musical experiences, because I can't imagine how many guitars have passed through your fingers.
Okay, so for half a century or more, I was a guitar player, tuned 6-string guitar, tuned in fourths, 24 3/4 to 26-inch scale length. And, that's guitar. That's what everybody plays. That's what I wanted to learn how to play. I learned how to play it, and I played it for a long time, as well as, banjo, mandolin, piano, dobro, etc. And then in about, when was it, 1990 or so, maybe even 98, 78, 9, 2000, I don't know. I discovered Grisman, my old buddy Grisman, got me hooked on the tenor guitar. And so I started learning to play and falling in love with the tenor guitar, which is tuned in fifths, not in fourths.
And it looks like a mandolin, like a big mandolin, basically.
Well, it's tuned just like a mandola.
Okay. But I mean, aesthetically, it looks like a mandolin, though. Like a big
tenor
one.
Guitar? No, most tenor guitars are guitar-shaped.
Oh, it's just yours that looks like that.
Yeah, right. That's my custom. So we'll get to that.
Okay. Yeah. Because that's like. Okay.
All right. So I fell in love with the tenor guitar, and it was only recently I realized why. I'll tell you why.
Yeah, tell me.
So the fifths thing, orchestral instruments are tuned in fifths.
Okay.
Guitars are tuned in fourths.
Yes.
Okay. They're not just tuned in fourths. They have this idiotic B string that's a third. After all, you've got all these fourths cooperating with each other. Now all of a sudden you throw in one that's a third. Mm-hmm. What the fuck? And then you go back to the fourth again. So when I was a little kid, my mother was a pianist. She was a concert pianist. Oh,
legit concert player.
Yeah, she played with the Santa Rosa Symphony a few times, and she taught lessons. And anyway, so I used to get taken to the symphony a lot as a little kid. And the part I liked the best was when they were tuning up. All this first the oboe plays in A, and then the horns get to that, and then they play B flats and E flats, but then all the strings work around this A, and they're all checking fifths. Everything's tuning in fifths, and I just loved the sound of that. And it only occurred to me about a year or so ago that maybe that's why I fell in love with the tenor guitar, because I just loved, even as a little kid, those fifths just resonated with me. Well, they're the strongest interval.
So the nostalgia,
the power chord is a fifth.
Yeah. So that nostalgia, in a sense, of the romance of the sound of the fifths when you're a kid is what
I think it has a lot to do with it. But anyway, I just started digging the tenor guitar, and your mandolin fingerings transfer over, although it's a much bigger stretch, and I have teeny little hands. Anyway, and right about the same time, I decided, I think maybe I want to be a folk singer when I grow up. And just sing, because I'd started singing, just working out arrangements on my own, accompanying myself with just one instrument. And so I was doing that, and the tenor guitar was really cool. If you want to accompany yourself on an instrument and you want to play the old tunes, I don't consider myself a singer-songwriter. I mean, I've written some songs. In fact, during this recent pandemic, I've written maybe more songs than I've written over the past 20 years. Even wrote a love song to my sweetie.
There you go.
Most of my songs are kind of have some humorous aspect to them, though, or sarcastic, you know. Anyway, so if you want to accompany yourself playing the canon, the folk music, of country music, of blues and whatnot, what you got to be able to do is go boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick, boom, chick. Well, a tenor guitar, lowest string is a C. It's tuned C, G, D, A. The canon is written in G and A, B flat, B, E some, but so if you want to play in G, you can only go chick boom because your lowest string is a D, and the G is, you know, one string up from that. Or your lowest string is a C, so on the second fret you got a D for your chord. You can't go boom chick. You want to play an A? Jesus, your lowest string is a major third. So to solve this, all you have to do is add another string, another fifth down. Fingerings are all the same. All the patterns stay the same. It's all still just fifths. But now you have an F string, which on the second fret is a G. And on the fourth fret, it's an A. And it's the low G, low A, just like on a guitar. You're only one fret higher than the lowest string of a guitar.
So you added an extra string.
You have to go up to the fifth fret of a guitar to play it where I can play it open. I can get voicings way wider than you can get on a six-string guitar tuned in fourths with only five strings on a tenor guitar. So, and it allows you to go boom, chick, have the tonic, root tonic note as your bass note in the keys in which the canon is written. So I tried it. The first thing I did was take an old 1935 Kalamazoo tenor guitar. They were made by Gibson. And as it turns out, I should have started with a really great instrument, but this was a, mediocre instrument. And took it to my luthier, had him take the tenor neck off, throw it away, and make a five-string tenor neck for it. Also, a tenor guitar has a 23-inch scale length, which is a lot shorter than a six-string guitar. But again, teeny little hands here. I decided to go with a 21-inch scale length.
Oh.
And then the FCGDA tuning. So I had a neck built for it. It was great. And then I proceeded to do the same thing with lots of other perfectly good tenor guitars, take the necks, throw them away, and have new necks made for them. I did it to a 34 Martin. I did it to a National tenor. I had a Strat neck made for a Strat body. I've done it, did all kinds of conversions. And then finally, the first guitar that I ever had made for me that was made to be a five-string tenor guitar is my main axe that I go to now, which is a Corrado Giacomello five-string tenor guitar made by Corrado in Genova, Italy.
Very cool.
And actually, I met Corrado through David Grisman, who was playing his mandolins.
Okay.
And I was really impressed with his mandolins. And I've been an Italophile, a rabid Italophile since 2007. I don't know why it took me that long. But
you also sound like a Francophile because you've spoken French a few times.
I'm an Italophile. France is great, but when I went to Italy for the first time in 2007, it blew my mind. It stole my heart. It awakened me to the fact that I'm probably Italian. In fact, I think in the Cinquecento, which is the 15th century, our family was probably in a Jewish ghetto in Ferrara or Bologna or someplace like that. And, when they had problems in Italy or anywhere else, especially financial problems, it was, okay, it's all the Jews' fault, throw the Jews out, and everything will be fine. They throw the Jews out. And the problems don't get any better. And then after, maybe if we bring the Jews back, that might actually put some orders. Anyway, so we were thrown out of some ghetto in the 15th century or something, wandered around, wound up in Germany. And that's as far back as I can trace my relatives.
Interesting.
Pre-war. Of course, they were wiped out in the Second World War. But yeah, so in my heart, nella mia cuore sono italiano.
In your heart, you're Italian.
So yeah, that first visit blew my mind. I came home. I made a vow, una sfida, to go to Italy at least twice a year for the rest of my life, to go to not to get stuck going back to Toscana to our fabulous place every time, but to go to every region, learn the cultures and the customs and the wine and the food of every region. And I immediately enrolled in night school, started studying Italian.
Holy shit.
Still in classes now. I've gotten pretty good at it. I've stayed true to my vow. Some years I even went 4 times. I've found friends. I can play gigs there now with musician friends I've made there. And I have been to every region, all 20 regions of Italy, which most of my Italian friends have not. I can recommend restaurants to them when they go travel.
That is so cool.
And yeah, so Grisman had found these mandolins made by Corrado in Genova, and I got one from Corrado, and shipped it to me. And then I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool to have a mandola? And because I'm kind of into tenor.
So what is a mandola? What's a mandola? What does that look like?
It's a fifth down from it's to a mandolin as a viola is to a violin. It's got a bigger body. It's tuned 1/5 down, C, G, D, A, just like a tenor guitar.
Okay.
Same range, but 19-inch scale length and double chord strings.
Okay.
So anyway, I thought, I'd like to have a Giacomo mandola. So I wrote to Corrado.
When you say you wrote to him, you mean you sent him an email, or like you actually?
Yeah.
I was gonna, because are you really going all Italian on this? Like you're doing a postage stamp and like like a pen pal back in the 70s or something.
You tried to deal with the post office in Italy. Anyway, and I was going to pick it up on a trip, and we were in Italy, and this was before I didn't really. This must have been like our 3rd or 4th year going to Italy, and I wasn't that adept at the language yet. And we were just south of Genova. I didn't realize really how close we were. I could have taken a ferry to Genova. I wanted to pick it up in Genova, but the driving to get to what was the town? This little town, Camogli, which is just on the coast, just south of Genova. And to get to this town, you have to drive these little roads that are just insane. And I couldn't bring it to myself to drive into Genova to meet Corrado to get this mandolin. We were going somewhere else a couple of days later. So I called him on the phone. We tried to talk. He didn't speak any English. And finally got this friend of his who later became a great friend who runs a circus troupe.
Of course.
Cesare. And he helped he was not much better than Corrado, but well enough to translate that I wasn't going to make it in to pick this thing up, and he was going to have to ship it to me.
Okay.
So then I went home. Corrado ships me the mandola.
Right.
Turns out, when you say mandola in Italy, what you're referring to is an octave mandolin, not a mandola.
Oh my God.
An octave mandolin is tuned another 5th down. It's an octave below a mandolin. It's G, D, A, E, but an octave lower. And it has a 21-inch scale length, and it's big.
So you got that. That had to be disappointing.
When the box arrived, I said, man, he sure did a lot of protection for this thing. This box is really big for a mandola. I opened it up and, what?
That had to be disappointing, man.
A mandola. Okay, so I messed with the octave mandolin for a while, and then I think, wait a second. This is my scale length. Why don't I'm going to put a new saddle on the bridge, a new nut on it, slotted for 5 strings, cleverly avoid using 3 of the tuning pegs, and turn it into a 5-string tenor guitar, which I did. And it was great. And so I played it for about a year. That was my main axe. And then I was in Italy, I guess a couple of years later maybe, and had made friends with Corrado, and we'd hung out together and whatnot. And because I was playing a gig up at his friend's house that was way up in the mountains, this little place you had to 4-wheel to get to. And it wasn't really a gig. There were half a dozen of us there, and they have a stage. They do a festival every year with this the circus troupe. This is,
of course,
they do a festival where they invite families and kids and teach them circus skills and do circus shows and whatnot for a 4-day weekend. So they have a little stage, and I was playing on the stage with this conversion. And then I said to Corrado, I said, I love this guitar, but I think it would be better if it had a little more low end and a little more power and projection. I would like to get a little more out of it. And I know it's been built to be an octave mandolin, so it's very sturdily braced to support those 4 double course strings, tuned up like that. My 5-string isn't putting nearly as much tension on it. What do you say? You graduate the top a little, carve the top so it's a little bit thinner, and then shave the braces down so they're a little bit thinner. And then we could get more power out of it and, more dynamic range and whatnot. And Corrado said, yeah, that's a really stupid idea, Banana. You've got a perfectly good in here. It works great. I'll build you a 5-string tenor guitar. Okay. I said, okay. So he built me my main axe.
Through a series of
so that's
experiments.
That's my main axe for gigs. And then I have an electric. I have a few electrics, actually.
I would imagine.
One that I found that's just unbelievable. It was made in Houston, Texas in 1958 by this guy who was working for another guy. I can't remember their names now, but this guy had worked with Bigsby on the West Coast before he moved to Houston. And he was a Western swing player, but also a builder. And in Houston in those days, Western swing was the thing. Each block had 5 bars. They were all playing country, Western swing, Bob Wills type stuff. Consequently, 5-string mandolins, Tiny Moore, were popular. And this guy was building them faster than he could. So this other guy named J.A. Thorpe was a violin maker and luthier, and he started taking some of the overflow from this guy who was making mandolins and 5-string mandolins and electric guitars in the Bigsby style for Western swing players. Somebody custom ordered from him a 5-string solid body electric guitar with a 21-inch scale length.
Oh my God.
And I have written down the name of the guy who ordered it and the names of all these guys, but it's all slipping my mind right now. This thing came up on eBay as what did the guy call it? A Mando Octo or something. He had no idea what it was. Nobody had any idea what it was, and who would want it. I mean, it's the weirdest thing, but it's got a Bigsby body, bird's eye maple, light as a feather, a bird's eye maple neck. It's got a Bigsby bridge. The guy got the parts from California. Bigsby pickup, Bigsby bridge, Bigsby tailpiece, and it's a 5-string tenor guitar with my scale length.
Electric.
And I got electric. It's basically a Bigsby solid body electric guitar. I got it on eBay for $1,100 or something. The guy had what did he call it? Octo Mando or something. And it is incredible. It's just an amazing electric axe. So
funny how there goes that serendipity again, man.
Yeah, right. There you go.
That's cool. What were you playing back in the day, electric wise?
A Guild Bluesbird M75, which I later had converted by Rick Turner of Alembic.
Rick Turner, yeah, I've heard his name a bunch of times.
Yeah, he completely redid it, put his custom hand-wound pickups on it, extended the peg head, put abalone inlay, redid the finish in natural, and did it Martin D45 style with abalone all around the top and abalone Alembic logo on the peg head, abalone flowers running down the new ebony fingerboard, et cetera, et cetera.
So you're
second one, which I also had him do that too. I've got 2 of them now that are customized. The second one has a silver vine running down the fingerboard with little abalone flowers where the fret marker should be, and his later version pickups, and so
you don't think anything of modifying guitars and like totally.
Back then I didn't.
Yeah, because that's not
ruining these collector's items as far as collector value goes. But I also have now a completely original one And also a completely original M75 tenor.
Okay. To the extent you're comfortable, what's been the coolest or one of the coolest transactions you've had as a vintage buyer or seller?
Maybe when I traded this guy in Germany, I traded him a Gibson L1T, which is really cool. The Gibson L1, is the Robert Johnson guitar. And this was a 1931, except a tenor. And I traded him that and a Style O, Gibson Style O guitar from like 1915. You know what those are? They have a scroll and a cutaway. Maybe the first cutaway. Well, no, Italians did it first. Anyway, they're really, really cool, collectible, old Gibson archtop round hole guitars. Great big body, and again with a scroll like a mandolin.
Very cool.
And this funny cutaway that actually gives you access to about body. Neck joins the body at the 15th fret with this cutaway.
Oh, that's pretty. Yeah.
Anyway, so I traded him those two instruments for what I referred to as the best guitar in the world, which was a Washburn model 5220, I think it was called, a Solo Deluxe. And it was made by Gibson, 1939, had a rosewood body, really rare. And that thing recorded like no other guitar. Well, the other one that records just as well is my Nick Lucas. But yeah, it was, and unfortunately I say it was.
What happened?
I sold it to Emmylou Harris's guitar tech. What's his name? Oh, darn names, they just...
Man, it's hard to remember names when you've met so many people. It really is. Especially like a guy like that. It's probably transactional.
Anyway, he's a great guy, and it's in great hands, and it's being used really well. But yeah, it was an amazing guitar, and I was fortunate to be its custodian for about 10 years or so.
Any just general advice to people who are collectors out there as far as like, in your experience, maybe things that are fad things that people gravitate to that really aren't really valuable, or just any advice to a collector? Or
nowadays, guitars from the 70s are considered vintage and collectible. The decade of the 70s was the absolute worst year for guitars from Martin and Gibson and whatnot. If you wanted a good guitar from the 70s, you'd get an Ibanez or something like that. So yeah, I would say don't steer clear of guitars from those decades, even from Martin and Gibson. They just aren't. Some Martin guitars from that era don't intonate properly.
Oh,
yeah, there's all kinds of issues from that era.
Interesting.
So that would be some advice to stay away from. And then, if you're collecting because you want to increase in value, for investment, don't get instruments with any issues at all. Pay top dollar for instruments that are pristine and, the top of the line. Those will, even in these days, continue to appreciate. But any instrument that has issues is not going to be bought by another collector. And as far as players go, they're looking for something that inspires them and sounds good and makes them write a great song or think of a good lick or something when they pick it up.
Yeah.
So,
and most players I know,
they can get that for a lot less money than spending $50,000. Although, if you spend $50,000, $60,000 on a pre-war herringbone D28, it's going to be pretty hard to match that sound with something less valuable.
What do you think?
I occasionally run into something. I have a 53 D28 that almost matches my 44 birth year D28, and it's worth about 13 or 14 grand, and the 44 is worth 50 or 60 grand. And the 53 really is really close. That's but but not all 53s are going to be that close. I lucked out. But I hardly ever play 6-string guitar anymore. Basically,
yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Oh, yeah, in the studio, that I will, because I have some guitars that just sound so great. And when I first started playing 5-string tenor guitar, I would bring the 5-string and the 6-string, and I would switch over to the 6-string because some songs, you really couldn't play them on a 5-string tenor. Oh, yes, you can. All you have to do is think about it and practice. And now that's all I bring.
That's great, man. You found your thing.
And so I have it gives me, first of all, I don't understand why you aren't jumping on the bandwagon, getting a 5-string tenor.
I can barely play my 6-string guitar.
So cool. I don't understand why. Oh, so many guitar players should be jumping on the bandwagon. When I told that to Steven, he said, you ought to be locked up. You're fucking nuts. But it gives me a unique voice. I have a unique voice.
Totally.
Singing, which, may not be operatic.
You know what? It's funny. I heard you sing.
Now I also have a unique voice in my playing. People hear it. It sounds like a guitar, but then it's like guitar players. It's like, wait a minute. How's he doing that?
Yeah. But I heard you singing. It was interesting I heard you, the first song, I listened to obviously some of your stuff before the interview, and I heard you sing Darkness, Darkness. Man, yeah, it was like, first of all, it takes a lot of balls to sing a song like that because it's so iconic. It's like changing the words on the Pledge of Allegiance or something, right? It's like, but your voice is like, man, it was like pretty. I don't mean that in a not like pretty in a girl way, but it was like really nice. It was really fitting for the music, and it was very authentic, man. It was really nice listening to that. Like,
I think it's a kind of a more mature, slightly funkier version.
It was just nice, man, to hear it, and I think a lot of that is intent. When I watched you sing it, there was a difference in hearing it on the radio. For you millennials, radio. Anyway, it was very different watching you sing because you get the intent there, and it was very moving watching that, man. Because like I got, yeah.
When you sing a song, you are, unless it's really a story about somebody else, you're an awful lot of the time you are the protagonist.
Yeah.
Of the song, and so it's like you're the protagonist of the vignette, of the play, the scene that is being portrayed here. And so, like an actor, you try to identify with the protagonist, maybe even think of a little backstory for the protagonist or whatever, and try to be that person when you're singing the song. Sometimes it really works for you because you really put the song across and you get the intent and the emotion and the attitude that the song is supposed to convey. Other times it works against you. You get caught up in it and your emotion overcomes your technical ability to not break up while you're trying to sing a verse or to not have tears coming to your eyes or whatever, So,
but you get a pass for that.
Double-edged sword. But that's the way I approach it.
Yeah, but you get a pass for that if you're getting emotional. No one's going to, I don't think it'd be, no one's going to hold something against somebody for getting too emotional. That's the whole point of music. You're going to say, oh, this guy's too emotional. You shouldn't be listening to music if that's your knee-jerk reaction,
You should just play instrumentals.
Ever sell a guitar you wish you can get back?
Well, I kind of wish I could get that Washburn back, but no, like it's in good hands. Maybe my old, the old CF100E, Gibson 1954 Gibson CF100E that I used with the Trolls. That would be really cool to find that guitar and get it back. I have I've gotten another one since then, and it's great. But it'd be really cool to run across that someday. That
was one when you were in Boston.
I can't remember why I don't have it anymore, who I sold it to, what did I trade it for a banjo or something? Or I have, I cannot for the life of me remember the fate of that guitar, but I know I played it all through the Trolls. I got pictures to prove it. It was cool. You know what that guitar is? A CF-100.
I don't. I'm assuming
it's the first flat top cutaway electric acoustic guitar. I'm pretty sure it has a pickup right at the end of the fingerboard that you can hardly see, and then it has two knobs on it and a jack, and it has cutaway. It's like an LG2 with a cutaway and a pickup.
From 1954. That's amazing, man.
And then they made a CF-100 that has the cutaway too, but no pickup. And they made them from 54 to 59.
You're pretty much an encyclopedia of guitars. Right? It's been something you've been buying.
Folks, but
you've been buying and selling for years. You kind of got to be.
Yeah, and I have a collection of catalogs and books and stuff, which I find interesting. Some really boring, but
no. But if you're into it, no, it's not. It's not boring. Do you remember the first album you ever purchased?
Yeah, I think. Would it have been the first? Yeah, probably the first that I didn't purchase them. I asked for them for my birthday. And this must have been maybe my, 12th birthday or something. But there were two records that I really wanted bad. One was the D'Oyly Carte Opera Company's HMS Pinafore. And the other was Elvis's first record. And I got them both for my birthday.
Very cool. Your parents sound like they were pretty cool?
Yeah. Yeah, they were. They were good folks. My mom was a musician. They had a collection of Broadway musicals, records that I learned every word to and inside out. I know that. So that was a big influence on me, on my music. It was Rodgers and Hammerstein, Rodgers and Hart, and Cole Porter, and all of that stuff. Yeah.
All right, another tough question. Top 3 desert island discs, just for right now. Just for this moment, because that could change. By the way, do you hear my cat screaming outside any chance? He's meowing out there. He's just dying to get in here. I can't let him in. He tears the place up. Sorry.
God, so many venues to choose from. I mean, what are you going to not have any bluegrass there? You're not going to have any old R&B soul. You're not going to have any Ray Charles. How about
you could take box sets. How's that?
Ray Charles presents David Fathead Newman.
Wow, that goes back.
There's a great one for you. Or any of that Ray Charles in person, Ray Charles at Newport, all of those old Atlantic releases. But more modern, I would think Little Village. There's one I never get tired of.
What is that?
One, no doubt. Yeah, there's Ry Cooder, John Hyatt, Keltner, and Nick Lowe.
Keltner's such a good drummer.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, if you're not familiar with that LP, Little Village, I think it's all, you can probably hear it all on YouTube or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
It's brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, love that. And then, probably, I don't know, maybe some Stanley Brothers or something, or maybe one of Bela Fleck's bluegrass CDs.
The bluegrass community, I've had a lot of bluegrass, not a lot, I've had a good handful of artists on this. They're what a nice community that is.
Yeah.
Really kind, really sharing people. And I think sharing and communicating that's part of the musical culture. They're lovely to talk to, man.
Yeah. And the music itself is such a blend, as you get further into it and start to study it and study where it came from and all that stuff. It's this amazing blend of everything from Scottish bagpipe tunes to Irish jigs to
Irish
English
jigs,
songs to African American blues to swing music to Dixie. It just combines all of that stuff into this very strict thing that some people think it all sounds the same.
That's ridiculously hard to play.
Yeah, and it's also hard to. But again, the playing is great, and like I say, for a while I was obsessed with Earl Scruggs banjo playing, learning to play that intricately and play fast and make it sound smooth. If you can play really fast and make it sound like it's not hard,
Then you're a master. Yeah.
That's where it's at.
Yeah.
A lot of people can make it sound, oh man, that sounds really hard to do. Nah, that's not so great then,
Yeah.
You want to be hard, but make it sound easy,
You ever play with Brian Sutton?
I've never played with him, no.
Yeah, I had him on the show. He's amazing, that guy.
Never played a gig with him, though. But again, for me, songs, all about the words, all about the lyrics. And the lyrics to some bluegrass songs are really maudlin, but the lyrics to some bluegrass songs are really hilarious. And the lyrics to some bluegrass songs are really heart-wrenching. And some are really historical. So that's, an aspect of it. And some bands, you'll hear them play a song. They're playing it at lightning speed, and it's some song about a guy, leaving home and then coming back later, and the home's gone, and his girlfriend, went off with somebody else years ago. He doesn't have any money and whatnot. And they're playing this thing lightning fast with these smiles on their faces. It's this beautiful, incredibly tight harmony, and the whole meaning of the song is lost.
Yeah.
No association. None of them are feeling what the protagonist of the song is feeling. They're a million miles away from that. And that's an aspect of bluegrass that I think sucks.
Yeah, the words and the music don't match sometimes.
Yeah, it's all about, storytelling. I like songs that tell stories. And like I say, I'm not a singer-songwriter. I'm a singer of songs.
Yeah. All right. Tough question. What do you like most about yourself?
Well, I guess, especially these days, that I'm conscientious. I think being conscientious, there was even a study that I read a while back that was a very long-term study. Whoever was doing the study, whatever organization, kept it up through a couple of generations, and the study was done over a period of 80 or 90 years. They studied people from all different countries, all different places, and what they were trying to figure out was there any commonality that contributed to longevity and a life of longevity in good health. And the one common factor that seemed to, through all, and, there's heart and there's cancer and there's all these, getting hit by a bus, there's all these different factors that can affect longevity. But the one commonality that they found was conscientiousness.
Interesting.
And,
define what you mean by conscientiousness.
If you're going to do something, do it in a mindful way, and do it in a mindful way, an efficient way, a complete way. Clean up your own messes. Take care of yourself. Be conscientious about what you put into your body. Be conscientious about the way you spend your day. Be conscientious about your relationship with others and the tone you get out of your instrument.
Well, man, you're talking about like every one of those you say, I'm seeing like another swath of people eliminated from. You're like, take responsibility for yourself. Whoosh, be kind to others. Whoosh, there's a reason why the numbers aren't as high, because those are all like awareness. You got to have a level of awareness, and that to me is like the scarcest commodity around, man. Unfortunately, nobody's aware.
I get up in the morning and I do my ablutions, and then I put on my shoes and I take a 2-mile walk.
I was going to say, you look like you're in great shape.
Before anything else, I take that walk, and it's a gorgeous walk. It's just amazing. You see, today there were deer and squirrels and all kinds of stuff. I walk up the hill a ways and then down the hill and then across through this valley down to the bay, and then along the bay back to town, and then back up the hill to my house.
That's awesome.
You see egrets, you see wildlife, you see, berries. Now it's berry season, and plum season. The trees are all laden with fruit. And it's just a gorgeous walk, and it's got some hills, and consequently, my immune system is pretty good. I think I have good resistance. I eat really well. I'm a great cook.
How long have you been eating well? Has that always been who you are, like eating well, taking care of yourself?
Yeah. I've never eaten junk food at all. Yeah. never been into, sodas or drinks or anything like that.
Yeah.
I love chocolate, which is very good for you.
Yeah. Chocolate ain't killing you. Trust me. Unless you're eating crap from
but I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian or anything like that.
Sure. But you don't have to be.
Really well. And I don't eat garbage. I don't eat when out on the road, you're eating in restaurants all the time. And the band has finally learned to trust me. Choice of restaurants.
Oh, cool.
And, you look for a restaurant that maybe names their chef and names the places where they're proud of where they get their ingredients from.
Right.
And they're proud of the fact that their chef knows, about these ingredients and knows how to use them. He has a name. Some restaurants only have cooks. They don't have a chef.
Yeah.
They get their stuff off the Cisco truck.
Yeah.
And so there's a big difference there. You're going to be healthier if you don't eat the stuff off the Cisco truck, if you eat the stuff off the farm that's 20 miles away from the restaurant. And if the guy who prepared it has an imagination and a love for what he's doing and respects all his ingredients and respects all his tools and all of that stuff, instead of somebody is, oh God, I'm so glad I've got this job. Okay, now I'm going to have to sled this stuff out.
And I heard you guys eat pretty well.
We do.
Yeah.
We get treated really well out there. He's the most incredible guy I've ever met, the most incredible boss I've ever worked for, one of the best friends I've ever had, and a fucking musical genius.
How did you connect with him?
On so many levels. Huh?
How'd you connect with him?
It's fun. We became friends before. A lot of people, you join their band, you get hired for your band, and then you become friends with the guy. But this was at the Notodden Blues Festival in Notodden, Norway, where they hired me based on my CD Down to the Roots, which is kind of mostly blues. Actually, I originally released that CD under another title called Even Grandpas Get the Blues. It had a cover that was a knockoff of the cover of Even Cowgirls Get the Blues.
That's funny as hell, man.
You familiar with that cover?
I'm not, but I'm going to look it up now because that's hilarious.
Okay. And then you could even find the cover of mine online too, I think. I think CD Baby actually still sells it. But anyway, and then I got this manager and she convinced me, no, this grandpa thing. And I was performing as Grandpa Banana. And I think, it worked for Grandpa Jones, maybe.
Yeah, right.
Grandpa Banana. So she said, that's not happening. You've got a really good name, Lowell Levinger's very classy name. Can the grandpa thing be Lowell Levinger? And then you can be Banana from the Youngbloods. And she said, and this CD, I've heard you sing live. You can do better vocals than this. That you've got. Why is the guitar so trebly on this track? Why don't you redo your vocals, remix the CD? So I remixed the CD. I added a couple of tracks. I redid all the vocals. I changed the title of it. I did a whole new, cover and booklet and all that stuff, and released it as Down to the Roots. And lo and behold, it did really well. It made the folk charts at number 2 or something.
Wow.
And these guys in Notodden, Norway, who run this blues festival every year for 30 years, heard it. And the guy who was booking the festival then happened to be an old Youngbloods fan. And he said, oh, let's see if we can get Banana to come over and play the blues festival. And so they sounded me, and I said, are you fucking kidding? Of course I want to come play in Norway. And went over there. Got to play. It was really cool. They got this. Then they said, the Blues Festival is partially state sponsored, and the state really likes to have interaction between Norwegian musicians and international musicians. And what would you say if we got a blues band together for you and you play with them?
Twist my arm, right?
Said, well, yeah, as long as they are good, that sounds good to me. And so they got Knut Hem, who was a drummer and really well connected and an incredible musician, to get a band together for me. And he got together the greatest musicians in Norway, all these incredible virtuoso guys who also happened to be salt of the fucking earth. We are all now, fast, dear friends. We're family, and our wives are all family. And it's just, it's one of those serendipitous situations. Yeah. So, and they brought me there a week early so I could rehearse with this band. And we got to rehearse in the actual venue where we were going to play. It's like about a 600 seat venue right down on the lake. Really beautiful, really nice little stage, great sound system. And we rehearsed there every day for 6 days before we had to play in front of the public. And then they were going to have us on the opening night of the festival. So the big hall of the festival is Hovid's Hangar. And it's a big, gigantic tent constructed in the main piazza, the main square of Newton. And it holds about 6,000 people.
Oh, wow.
So the plan was for us to close the show with Get Together.
Wow.
They got the lyrics from me in advance so they could put them up on the big video screens on either side of the stage so the audience could sing along, while we're playing Get Together to close the show. Oh, boy. I mean, I was so honored and thrilled. So meanwhile, one of the kind of sponsors or mascots of this festival is Steven Van Zandt. He started a blues school that's connected. Well, actually, the school was in existence before he got there, but he energized it, and now it's called Little Steven School of Blues. And students from this school, the best ones, come to the festival and get to play there. Get to do a recording they have a recording studio. This town, Newton, is a town that's completely devoted to the blues and was actually saved by the blues.
That's crazy, man.
It's an amazing story. I could tell it to you if you want. But anyway, so he's there as a luminary of the festival. He's presenting awards. He's doing different stuff. He's not playing, but he's, big in organizing. He's producing the students who get to record in the recording studio. He's going to the school and listening to a bunch of the kids' bands plays and giving them suggestions, helping them out, spending hours with these kids. He never sleeps. He's, like I say, he's amazing. Anyway, so he's an old Youngbloods fan. When he and Bruce were 16, they were kids, right?
Yeah.
I was in the Youngbloods. I was 22.
Right.
I was an actual guy in an actual band that was playing at the colleges all around New York. They used to come to Youngblood gigs and think that we were the hottest thing around, that we were really cool. And they thought that Banana was really cool and played guitar really great. Really? Okay. So he really wanted to meet me. He came into one of the rehearsals, caught a little bit of it, and wow, I think he had conveyed to one of the guys, how did he get these Norwegian musicians after 2 rehearsals to be sounding like a California band? Well, it's easy as long as they, get the riff and get the beat and jump on it like a dog on a bone. There's not going to be any problem. And they were all, incredible. So we were, we kind of had our own sound. It's called the Euphoria 5. They named themselves the Euphoria 5. So we had this sound, and the word was spreading as different people came in and caught little bits of the rehearsals of what was going on. And so then one of the guys who was organizing the festival and running the main show came in and said, okay, you were just going to do Get Together, but maybe if we can find room, it'd be good. We would like you to do one of your blues songs too before Get Together, but the schedule's really tight. And do you think you could cut it down to like maybe 3 or 4 minutes? Because these guys are great. I'm giving everybody 2 solos and, stretching out the songs. The songs are, California band songs are 10 or 15 minutes long.
Right.
So I said, yeah, I got great. We get to play 2 songs. Yeah. And I'll cut it down, to whatever you want. So then meanwhile, one of the other big organizers of the festival, Epson, comes to me after rehearsal and says, we're having a dinner tonight up at we were staying at the hotel on the main piazza. There's another hotel that's up the hill. That's where some of the more prestigious performers stay and some of the organizers stay. It's much, much smaller. And Steven was staying up there. So Epson says, we're having a dinner up at the other hotel tonight. And Steven would really like it if you and Jane could come. I thought he was referring to another one of the organizers of the festival.
Oh, right. That's funny.
Steven was. But I know what dinner is.
Right.
And at dinner, me and Jane, yeah, well,
sure.
We'd love to. Dinner, one of my favorite things. So we show up at the other place. We come in, and Epson says, Steven would like to sit next to you. I say, is that okay with you? Sure. So we sit down. There's this guy in this bandana, and he knows about everything, and he's a big Youngbloods fan. I'm not out on the West Coast. Springsteen was not.
Yeah. It wasn't hip. Something you guys were hip to.
Really knew about Springsteen until, Born to Run or what, then they knew, big rock star hit records.
Yeah.
Played out here. It wasn't part of the scene, and let alone Steven Van Zandt. And I hadn't watched The Sopranos. So
okay. So you didn't know it was acting edge end of it. Yeah.
So I'm sitting next to this guy, and he's all asking questions about the Youngbloods and stuff, and then we're talking about theater, we're talking about movies, and
you heard his accent, you knew he wasn't Norwegian by that point.
Yeah. So we share all this commonality of interest and stuff. Really cool guy. We hit it off, just like two old crumbs in a toaster with, and we've become friends. And I go back to the room. I'm looking at the program, and I'm realizing, holy fuck, that was Steven Van Zandt. I didn't
pretty funny.
Realize it. Jesus Christ. So the next day, we're hanging out, around the thing backstage, and
but didn't you say, how did you?
My attitude has changed a little bit. I didn't tell him that, I hadn't known. But anyway, our relationship is cemented.
That's so funny, man.
We just hit it off, and so then it's time for the big concert, right? And before the big concert is the awards ceremony. So, and like I say, I've got this incredible band. I've got these two amazing guitar players, great bass player, Knut on drums, Radar Larson playing piano, and I'm playing my 5-string tenor guitar. Electric, which I had shipped. They had paid for me to ship it to the festival. I was playing other gigs acoustic in England and Italy before the festival. And, but I thought, if this is going to be blues, why don't I just play it electric? And I shipped my electric guitar over there. So the awards are happening. Steven's presenting the awards. It's time for the award for the best guitar player of the year in Norway. It goes to Amund, my pony, my lead guitar player.
Right. Okay.
Right. He's now, he gets this award. And that's fun. The Norwegians are incredible people. Their sense of humor is a little dry, and they're not. Sometimes it takes a minute to get it. So Amund Marud, he's amazing, and he's now risen to great heights in Norway and around. He's got this band I think they're the most interesting band I ever heard since the Beatles.
Wow. Yeah.
And this guy is, amazing imagination, amazing virtuoso, amazing chops, amazing soul and emotion. And then the other guy is a telly player, Terje. He's really great too. But Amund gets the award. He comes backstage, with the award. He's so proud of himself. And I said to him, man, this is so great. You're so lucky to have gotten that award. And he says, yeah. He said, yeah, I was about to fire you. I said, he goes, what? And he goes, oh, and then and it really scared him for a second.
That's so funny.
If you hadn't gotten that award, you'd be out.
That's so funny, man.
So anyway, then the stage manager comes back and he says, we asked you to cut the solos from your blues song. It's okay. You can let Amund solo.
Oh, and now that he's got the...
now we get to play the whole song.
Yeah,
right?
now that he's guitar player of the year in Norway.
Yeah. So that video is up on YouTube too of the songs. We played "Just Can't Quit the Blues," which is one of my songs, and "Get Together."
It's just Norwegian Blues Festival.
Notodden Blues Festival, and Notodden, Notodden, Notodden. It's pronounced Notodden.
You know, it's funny though. Didn't you think to, like, when you were talking to Steven, didn't you think to talk to him? Hey man,
it was like, yeah, this guy is. Who is this
where's
guy?
Where in Norway are you from?
Why should I know this guy? Why, he's obviously, he knows everything about everything, and he's,
That's so. But it's probably good you didn't say that. Like if you said, "Hey man, like how did you, where in Norway are you from?" That would have been really funny.
Why did you kill that girl? That was the shittiest thing.
Oh my God, that's cool, man. So
then we became friends. We got to do this thing. He was there. He saw me play. He came to our set that we played. In the other venue. What is that you're playing? What why are you playing? I explained it to him and said, you ought to do it. He said, you belong in an asylum.
Because he's a telly player, I think, right? Primarily?
No, he plays mostly Strat. On the gig, he plays a Strat. He plays a Rickenbacker. He plays a Les Paul, but he does not play a telly.
Oh, he doesn't. I thought he was a telly player. Okay.
But no, he's
that's right. Ribbler's playing telly. Right.
Yeah. No, he's more of a Strat guy, and he plays Les Paul on the blues stuff. But his main acts, most versatile, is Strat. It's so versatile.
Yeah, it's very versatile.
Really versatile acts. I have a 5-string tenor Strat.
Of course.
Of course.
Do you have do you have a 5-string tenor Les Paul? I mean,
no, I've never been into Les Pauls.
There you go,
the Bluesbird, is a Les Paul that makes sense. It doesn't weigh 1,000 pounds, and it's hollow body, and it's exactly the same shape.
Well taken. Point well taken. That's a cool story.
Well, anyway, then the next year, 2017, I want to go back to this festival. I want them to book me again, but they are going to book the same headliner 2 years in a row. I was one of the headliners, but I'm willing to go back and just play the folk blues stage. I just want to see these guys again. I want to bring my sweetie. She wants to see all of her friends. I just want to be part of it, and I want to help teach and help in the studio, whatever. And I see that the headliners this year are Buddy Guy and Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul. Whoa. So I'd gotten these mantras, 2 mantras that I got from Roy Bookbinder. You know who Roy Bookbinder is?
No.
He's a blues guy, really great blues guitar player. He plays in the style of the holy triumvirate of blues, country blues finger pickers. Jesse Fuller, Mississippi John Hurt, and Reverend Gary Davis.
I know Reverend Gary Davis well. A huge fan.
You don't know Mississippi John Hurt?
I know. I have never listened to stuff that far back. I know. What do you call it? Gary Davis. I've listened to a lot of his stuff for some reason.
Okay. Well, Roy Bookbinder was Gary Davis's road manager. Escorted him, blind Reverend Gary Davis's road manager. Escorted him around to gigs for a couple of years. Sat at his feet. Learned all the shit that Mississippi John Hurt and Jesse Fuller played, got that genre down, the old-fashioned country blues. All he ever wanted to be was an old blues guy. He was 17 years old, He had a mustache and trying to... Well, now he is.
Now he's an old blues guy.
Which came true. He's a really old blues guy, just like me. So he was staying at my... He travels around the country... in a really nice mobile home with his wife, playing gigs at, concert halls and clubs and whatever, small, medium-sized venues, just on his own. They travel all over the U.S., through the South, through the Midwest, through the Southwest and Northwest, maybe a couple hundred miles between gigs. They work it out. His wife does the booking, and pretty cool life. So they were here in the Bay Area. I think it was playing the Freight and Salvage or something. And we did a couple of house concerts together as a duo. And so we were sitting at dinner at my table, and he lives in Florida. So I said, and 3 months of the year, wintertime, he just stays in Florida. He doesn't go out and try.
Man, that's the only 3 months you need to be here, to be honest with you.
So
it's oppressive the rest of the
year. So I said, so when you're in Florida, what kind of gigs do you play there? And he said, Oh, I don't want to be a local artist. Oh my God, that hit me like a ton of bricks. Of course. I don't want to be a local artist either. It was my new mantra. I don't want to be a local artist. I want to play in England. I want to play in Italy. I want to play in Nashville. I want to play where. Here he is, direct from California. The guy from out of town.
Yeah, the out of town expert. There's always a panache to it.
The local artist. It's him again.
Yeah, he's always here.
We can see him at the fucking station house. So that was one. And then we were talking about booking agents and how, he books himself. I don't have a booking agent. And how I thought, God, if I could just get a booking agent, that would be so cool. Because tooting your own horn is really hard.
It's tough for you guys, yeah.
You should hire me. I'm the greatest guy. My voice is like a blade. I play so well you wouldn't believe. And, it's hard. You got somebody else saying, this guy, you wouldn't believe how great he is. That's much better. So he told me the story about when he was starting out, he had an agent, a booking agent, who was booking him and a few other small artists. And the agent then got hired by a big booking agency, a big influential New York booking agency that had lots of really big stars and big artists. And this guy was now going to be able to start working with those guys as one of the agents of this big agency. And Roy thought, all right, I'm in. And he called his buddy and said, so, are we going to now start getting the really good gigs? And the guy said, Roy, I'm really sorry, but there's no way that this agency could ever consider booking. I mean, any one of our agents makes more in 2 minutes on the phone than he'd get on commissions for you for 5 years. It's, it's just no way. But he says, let me tell you something. You should be making more than you are now. You're not asking enough. You are better and you deserve more than your normal rate. And I'm going to give you 5 words that you should take to heart. And here they are. You got to ask for it.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, well, there's mantra number 2.
So you called them up and said, I'd love to come out and play. You got any spots for me?
Pretty well for me. So I sent little Steven an email and I said, hey, I see you're headlining at Norton Blues Festival this year. Consider this my official application to be a disciple of soul.
Good for you.
What to lose, And he wrote back and said, really? I said, I consider this my official application to be a disciple of soul. I know you got your guitar chairs covered, but I tickle a mean B3. Or I play a mean B3. He wrote back and he said, well, my B3 chair is very well covered, but my piano chair is expendable and you tickle a really mean whirly. And so if you want to come on and be the piano player, here's the deal. It's a 15-piece soul band. We're going to be touring for the next 2 years at least. I'm going to win them over one gig at a time, one fan at a time. We're going to do it the old-fashioned way. And I think maybe if we stick with it for 2 years, that I might be able to achieve my lifetime goal, breaking even.
That's pretty funny.
So he said, so if you want to do it, okay, be in New York on April 16th. And I said, yeah, okay. But meanwhile, I already had one of my UK-Italy tours booked for that exact period. It was like for the 3 weeks preceding April 16th and about another week and a half after that. So I hurriedly canceled the last part of the tour, changed my airline tickets, canceled the hotel reservations, changed the airline tickets. Instead of flying from London back to San Francisco, I would fly from London to New York. Then Mark's the musical director.
Yeah.
He runs the band. He chooses what musicians are going to be in the band, and then Steven approves them. But Mark chooses them because he knows them, he's worked with them, he trusts that they're really good, that they have a work ethic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I remember one guy he brought in after the rehearsal, and Steven said, Steven has a sixth sense too. Not only do you have to be able to give him what he wants perfectly, but you have to be simpatico, strong, work ethic, talented, no bullshit, no drama, no what. The guy comes in, rehearsal, plays. Steven goes over to Mark afterwards. Man, that guy's a great player. Really, great tone, really plays well. I never want to see him again. So now
he just didn't have the right vibe.
Mark, huh? He could just sense that he wasn't going to be a successful, simpatico member of the family. You know, there was something going on there that Steven didn't want to have to deal with.
Yeah.
So Steven calls Mark, says, Mark, great news. We got Banana. Who the fuck is Banana? What, huh? You know, the Youngbloods. Oh, Youngblood, get together. Oh, yeah, okay. All right. You know, he doesn't know.
He doesn't know you from Adam, yeah.
You know, stand up straight or you choose a good bottle of wine or you know, read a chart. So I get sent 35 charts 2 days before I'm leaving on this tour with my 5-string tenor guitar.
Wow.
So, okay, I'm in the hotel rooms with the charts and the 5-string tenor guitar, learning the songs. And okay, how would this? What if you were playing piano on this and not guitar? Right, you got to think about it in that way. And then the last 4 or 5 days in Genoa, I rent a studio that has a piano. I'm in there every day, you know, with the charts. Okay, all right, okay, yeah, this will be a good part, you know. Then he also sends me recordings of the guy who Steven didn't like the way he played, and they weren't particularly simpatico. Sends me recordings of rehearsals with that guy. Okay, so you don't want to play that.
Right.
Steven didn't like that. And so it was quite a challenge, learning all these songs.
Yeah, 35 tracks in 2 days.
On the 5-string tenor guitar, and then having a few days with the piano in a studio before going to New York, flying to New York, going to rehearsal, strange keyboard, never met any of these people before. And once again, Jack and Andy both were so on my side, so helpful, so, you know, just never could have made it without them. And then Mark as well. Mark and I have become brothers, real, true brothers. I've never had a brother. I'm an only child, but I got one now. And
that's cool, man.
And then and Jack and Andy and Rich too. You know, we're all really, really close. But Mark and I really, really developed a bond. But yeah, Jack too. And anyway, so they were great, and I fooled them. And I never have been fired yet, and you know, still a disciple.
That's so cool, man. And hopefully everybody get to play.
And it's the best band I've ever been in. It's the most demanding band I've ever been in. You've got these, you know, meticulous charts that are really fun to play with the best musicians in the world playing them along with you. They're constantly changing. He's always making changes. You know, you think you've got the arrangement down perfectly. He comes in and changes everything. No. Play. You should be up 2 registers. Play it up there and play, you know, 8th note triplets for this whole section. And then Eddie, you know, that shouldn't be fifths. That should be unisons. And then this section here, why don't you have the trombone do the third, have the trumpets do the fifth, and then you can play the root down. He hears every nuance and every note in his head of how things should be. And he sees the set and every costume and every curtain rise and down the way it's supposed to be. And then he comes to sound check and it's all the way it's supposed to be, but he realizes it could be better. I just thought of a way to make it better. So he makes all these changes at sound check, and then the band nails it perfectly that night, you know. And every change he makes it better. He's never made a change that didn't make the thing better.
On the flip side, you get to play with Paul McCartney as a reward, so that ain't too bad.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool, man.
Yeah,
Funny how that's another serendipity, man. You're going to like go figure. Like you're going to Norway and to connect with little Steven. Like how bizarre is that, right? And you don't even know you're talking to little Steven, and you still wind up working with him. How funny is that?
But he's a huge Norway guy. I mean, you've seen Lillehammer, right?
Right. Yeah. But I mean, that's not what your agenda was, to go to Norway to hook up with little Steven. It was like to just play some blues, man.
Yeah. Right.
Banana, I'm going to ask you one more question, and I really appreciate all your time. Thank you, man.
Been a pleasure. Enjoyable.
Oh yeah, man. Likewise. This is you're like a historian of pretty much everything to do with music. Tell me, over the last 10 years, what's been the biggest change in your personality, and how much of that has been intentional and how much has been a natural part of aging?
You know, I had, I was stricken with a severe bout of sciatica one time returning from an English tour. I couldn't believe it. It just happened on the ride to the airport. All of a sudden,
yeah, that's painful as shit.
I got home. I was in agony. I tried all this stuff to alleviate it, with different medical shit and whatnot. And then I started walking. And it turned out that walking was the most effective, least expensive, simplest, most pleasant thing. And it actually, after a while, being conscientious and sticking to it, kept the sciatica at bay. So I signed a contract with my body. I said, okay, if you will walk your 2 miles every day, and then I also go to this guy, Steve, who has his house as a gym, and I do a workout every week with him. If you'll do that, then the sciatica agrees to stay in the background. And so we signed this contract, and I stuck to it. It's pretty well stuck to it. And then I started I had already had knee problems with my right knee. I've got arthritis, 76 years old.
Dude, I like it. I know I know stuff starts happening, man. It's just
common, and I'm riddled with it. So anyway, but it was the knee that was the worst. And after a couple of years of pretty bad knee pain, I went to look into a knee replacement. This was like 18 years ago. ACL
wouldn't fix this?
ACL, this was bone to bone, no cartilage.
Yep.
ACL is the other knee, and that's not a problem. That you can fix just by exercise and stretching and strengthening. So I went and looked into the knee surgery, and they said, first of all, the life expectancy of this is about 15 years. Well, my life expectancy is more than that.
Yeah.
Way more, I hope. That sucks. Then the other thing is, okay, so to get ready, you do all this physical therapy to get yourself in shape and to get the really strong and whatnot. Then you do the operation. Then afterwards, you're going to have to do all this physical therapy for rehabilitation, really serious physical therapy. So I did the physical therapy before the surgery, and I did the physical therapy after the surgery. I just skipped the surgery.
Oh, so you just found out that working out
I just did the physical therapy and fuck the surgery.
Yeah, and it worked. Yeah, man.
Didn't seem like really a good idea. So then 10, 12 years passed by, and it kept getting worse and worse. And for the last 8 years of it, I was walking with a cane and, living in constant pain.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be myself, trying to be the cheery, joking.
Pain management is a lot of energy.
I have a great sense of humor. So I think everyone except my wife would agree with me. And maybe some of my kids. But
that's always the way.
I tried to keep up, did gigs, stayed cheery and whatnot, but I was constantly in pain. And then 2 years ago, I had a complete, total knee replacement.
Mm.
And that, especially according to my wife, has changed my personality. Not living in constant pain makes you less irritable, less grouchy, less touchy, more forgiving, more easygoing. So I think maybe that's been the biggest change in my personality, has been due to this total knee replacement. I can walk like a normal human being now. I can go up and down stairs, one stair at a time instead of one stair, then bring the other leg up, then the stair, then bring the other leg up. I can, walk down here. I don't use a cane. It's a total different life. It's like being a normal person.
That's great, man. Yeah, pain management's a ton of energy, man, to deal with that.
Yeah, and I've always not really been into ibuprofen. I'll do, but it's not good to do it constantly because it messes with your poo-poo and your digestion and all that.
Anything is just not good to do constantly, man.
So I've just tried, to control it with stretching and strengthening and all kind of exercises and vitamins and magnesium.
And you're still doing your walk.
And the walk.
So,
religiously doing the walk. But, I'm so glad that I finally did it because
And so you had this 2 years ago, you said? Man, at 74, you had the knee surgery. So that means you got to outlive the knee. So you got to stick around at least till 89, 90.
Yeah, well, now the knee will last for, 20 years or so. I want to, my role model is Pine Top Perkins.
How old was Pine Top?
He was playing gigs at 96 years old.
Right on, man. Dude, I hope you're playing gigs at 96. We'll have you back on the show. That would be awesome. That would be a
plan. And maybe this pandemic will be over by then.
If it wasn't so true, it wouldn't be so funny, man. I know. Listen, thank you so much for everything. I really appreciate your kindness, man. Thanks for sharing your story. And, you're a super cool guy. It's really nice to talk to you. You're a legend.
Well, so are you, man. It's been a pleasure. Piacere, as we say.
What does that mean?
It's a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Piacere.
Let me tell people where to find you. It's Banana Lowell Levinger, and go to his website, lowelllevinger.com, LOWELLLEVINGER. Also, and check out his music on there. It's also available on his SoundCloud page, which is Lowell Levinger, Banana from the Youngbloods. You could also find him on his YouTube channel, so go subscribe to that or follow that at same thing, Lowell Levinger, Banana from the Yardbirds, as well as Facebook.
Yardbirds.
Yardbirds. Sorry, Youngbloods. I can't read my own writing. It says I apologize. Also, if I want to check out breadandroses.org, that sounds like a really nice organization. Whether you want to start up a new chapter or participate in or support it would be great. And man, if you are into collecting any kind of vintage guitars, go over to vintageinstruments.com. And I'm assuming there's a tab there. People could ask you questions. Hey, I have this. How much is this worth? What can we trade it for? Or whatever. There's stuff like that you do. Yeah. Great. So go to vintageinstruments.com. Anything else that I could promote or you want to turn people on to?
Well, if you see me playing a gig, come.
Yeah, man. Where do you post your gigs?
On my website.
On your website. Hey.
And on Facebook too. Yeah.
Just got to, again.
Last time I was communicating with Steven, and we were, I forget what we were talking about, but I said, so, God damn it, let's rock. And he responded, I'm working on 2023.
No. 2023?
Who knows?
Oh my God.
I can play solo gigs maybe at the end of 2021, 2 little venues outdoors with 80 people or 120 people or something like that. But how do you go out on the road with a 15-piece band and a 20-piece support crew and playing to thousands of people?
God, man, I don't know. This is not knowing the future is paralyzing. I mean, really not knowing the future. This isn't like not knowing, am I going to be able to eat this food? I mean, this is like literally not knowing the future, man. It's like the Twilight Zone now, man.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Maybe, God, I hope this country gets it together. We're prisoners now. We're pariahs. We're prisoners. We're, idiots. We're pitied. We're scoffed. And, there doesn't seem to be any awakening. Do we have to wait till November? And then will we actually succeed? Or are they going to cheat and rob and steal the election again somehow without winning it? What? Jesus.
I'm just trying to get through the day. Those are all way too lofty questions for me to even try to answer. Check out Banana. It's Lowell Levinger, Banana from the Youngbloods on Facebook and YouTube, and go to his website, Lowell Levinger. Again, guitar collectors, go to vintageinstruments.com and breadandroses.org. Very cool charity. Any final words of wisdom?
Hang in there, stay safe, be well, wear your goddamn mask, get tested, wash your hands, keep your physical distance, and eat well, exercise.
Now you sound like my grandpa.
Come on.
Yes, all the above, and arrivederci. Did I say that right? Arrivederci. I butchered up another language. Hang on one second. Let me wrap this up. Banana, thank you very much. Really appreciate your time, man. And thanks for coming on the show. Very cool of you. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your social media channels. Please check out some of Banana's music at lowelllevinger.com and on YouTube and Facebook at Lowell Levinger, Banana from the Youngbloods. Thanks to Banana for spending time with us. And most important, man, especially nowadays more than ever, remember that happiness really is a choice. So choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Till next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Banana, thank you so much for everything, brother. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Everyone Loves Guitar. If you did, make sure you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/subscribe and subscribe to the audio podcast and to our very active YouTube community. And if you have any comments, please write me at everyonelovesguitar.com/hello. We'll see you on the next episode. Until then, make sure you choose happiness, relax, and have as much fun as possible.